What did you prepare for, or what were your strategies in getting this straight set win and not losing that early lead?
I think every match is
Really
different.
bad at like other sports, like any other sport that isn't tennis. I'm pretty bad at. So I
Warmest
haven't
greetings
had
to the officers and personnel of the Philippine National Police as you celebrate Philippine National Police Day. This occasion is a reminder.
The ultimate
why the
betrayal,
PNP
Alex Eala's three-word reply that made President Marcos freeze. Hold your breath, tennis fans, because what I'm about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about Alex Eala, President Marcos, and the future of Philippine tennis. This isn't just another feel-good sports story. This is a bombshell that has the entire nation buzzing, and by the time you finish watching this, you'll understand why three simple words sent shockwaves through Malacañang Palace and left millions of Filipinos frozen in disbelief. Welcome back to Court Vision Plus, the only channel brave enough to bring you the raw, unfiltered truth about what's really happening in the world of tennis. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into a story so explosive, so controversial, that mainstream media is too scared to touch it. If you're ready for the truth, smash that like button right now, and let's expose what really happened between the President of the Philippines and the nation's tennis queen. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a conversation unfold in real time and felt your stomach drop? Have you ever witnessed a moment so charged with tension that you had to read it twice to make sure you weren't hallucinating? That's exactly what happened when Alex Eala responded to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s public message, and trust me, what you think happened is nothing compared to the reality. Let me paint a picture for you. It's January 2026. The tennis world is on fire. The Australian Open has just concluded its early rounds, and standing at the epicenter of a media firestorm is 20-year-old Alexandra Eala, the girl who dared to dream that a kid from the Philippines could conquer the most elite sport on planet Earth. She's not just any athlete. She's the first Filipina to break into the top 50 of the WTA rankings. She's the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam title at any level when she demolished the competition at the 2022 U.S. Open Juniors. She's the golden child, the chosen one, the athlete who was supposed to unite 115 million Filipinos under one banner of pride and glory. But here's where the story gets twisted. Here's where everything you think you know gets turned upside down. Because what happened between Alex Eala and President Marcos wasn't a simple exchange of pleasantries. It was a carefully calculated political chess move that exposed the darker side of sports, nationalism, and the crushing weight of expectation. Let me take you back to the moment that triggered this entire controversy. Melbourne Park. January 2026. Court 6. The Australian Open main draw. Alex Eala, ranked number 49 in the world, walks onto the blue hard court for what should have been her coronation. The stands are packed with Filipino flags. The chants of Laban Alex Filipinos are deafening. This isn't just a tennis match, it's a religious experience for the thousands of Filipinos who have traveled across the world to witness history. Her opponent is Alicia Parks, an American powerhouse with a game built on raw aggression and thunderous ground strokes. The first set begins, and something magical happens. Eala is untouchable. Her lefty forehand is painting lines like Picasso on canvas. Her movement is fluid, graceful, lethal. She takes the first set 6-0. A bagel. In a Grand Slam. Against a player ranked in the top 70. The Filipino contingent goes absolutely nuclear. Social media explodes. Back home in Manila, people are running through the streets. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. But tennis, my friends, is a brutal mistress. The second set begins, and you can feel the shift in energy. Parks finds her rhythm. The power game that had been dormant in the first set suddenly awakens like a sleeping dragon. The American starts crushing returns, painting winners, dictating play. Eala, who had looked invincible just minutes earlier, suddenly seems mortal. The second set goes 6-3 to Parks. The third set is a formality. 6-2, match over. Alex Eala has lost in the first round of the Australian Open. Now, here's where most stories would end. A heartbreaking defeat, a promising young athlete learns a valuable lesson, the nation rallies behind her, and everyone moves on. But this isn't most stories. Because within hours of that devastating loss, something happened that would change the entire narrative. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the highest office in the land, the man who commands the military, the economy, and the political destiny of over 115 million people, decided to send a public message to Alex Eala. Now, we all know that politicians love to jump on the sports bandwagon when athletes win. It's easy PR. It's safe. But when an athlete loses, that's when you see who the real leaders are. That's when you separate the opportunists from the genuine supporters. President Marcos posted on social media, and his message was exactly 15 words long. 15 words that seemed, on the surface, to be nothing more than a standard message of encouragement. He wrote, "The fight continues, Alex. We all watched you make history. The whole Philippines is behind you." Seems innocent enough, right? A president supporting his athlete. A leader lifting up a young woman who had just experienced one of the most painful moments of her career. The media ate it up. Headlines praised Marcos for his compassion. Commentators applauded his leadership. Everyone assumed this was just another example of political theater, a carefully crafted message designed to score easy points with the voting public. But then Alex Eala responded. And those 3 words, those 3 simple words that she typed on her phone in what must have been a moment of raw, unfiltered emotion, absolutely stunned the entire nation. The response wasn't what anyone expected. It wasn't a polite "thank you, Mr. President." It wasn't a generic "Mabuhay Pilipinas." It wasn't even an emoji or a heart react. What Alex Eala wrote in response to the President of the Philippines was this, and I want you to really let this sink in, because once you understand the context, once you peel back the layers of what these words actually mean, you'll never look at this story the same way again. She wrote, "Para sa bayan." For the country. Now, if you're not Filipino, if you don't understand the cultural and historical weight of those 3 words, let me educate you. Para sa bayan isn't just a phrase. It's a battle cry. It's the same words that Filipino revolutionaries screamed as they fought against colonizers. It's the same phrase that has been etched into the consciousness of every athlete who has ever represented the flag on the international stage. It's the same declaration that soldiers make before they march into war. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Here's the part that made people's blood run cold. Because when Alex Eala wrote "Para sa bayan" in response to President Marcos, she wasn't just accepting his support. She was making a declaration that had far deeper, far more controversial implications. Think about the context for a second. She had just lost. She had just experienced one of the most humiliating defeats of her career in front of thousands of her countrymen. The pressure she had been carrying, the weight of an entire nation's expectations, had just crushed her on the biggest stage in tennis. And in that moment of vulnerability, in that moment of absolute emotional devastation, the President of the Philippines publicly reminds her that the fight continues and that the whole Philippines is behind you. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand the psychological manipulation embedded in those words? The president wasn't just offering support, he was reminding her of her obligation. He was reinforcing the cage of expectation that had already contributed to her breakdown on court. He was essentially saying, "You lost, but you don't get to quit. We're all watching. The nation is watching. You owe us." And Alex Eala's response? Para sa bayan. For the country. Not for herself. Not for her own dreams or her own glory. For the country. That's when people started to realize something deeply disturbing. Alex Eala, at just 20 years old, has become a prisoner of national expectation. She's not playing tennis because she loves the game anymore. She's playing because an entire nation has decided that her success is their success, and her failure is their shame. She's carrying a burden that no 20-year-old should ever have to carry, and the president's message, intentionally or not, just made that burden heavier. But wait, it gets even more shocking. Because what happened next revealed just how deep this rabbit hole really goes. Within days of that exchange, Alex Eala flew back to Manila for the inaugural Philippine Women's Open, the first WTA-sanctioned tournament ever held on Filipino soil. The event was being held at the historic Rizal Memorial Tennis Center, a venue that has hosted everything from the Beatles to championship boxing matches. The entire nation was watching. The pressure was astronomical. And here's what nobody is talking about. Here's the part that the mainstream media conveniently ignores. The government, under Marcos's administration, had heavily invested in making this tournament happen. There were rumors, unconfirmed but persistent, that significant public funds had been allocated to ensure the event's success. The optics were critical. The Philippines needed to prove to the WTA, to the tennis world, and to its own people that it could host a world-class event. And who was the face of that event? Who was the athlete that the entire marketing campaign was built around? Alex Eala. She wasn't just playing a tennis tournament. She was performing in a nationally orchestrated theater production where failure wasn't an option. The Para sa Bayan response wasn't just a reply to the president, it was a public acknowledgement that she understood her role in this political and cultural spectacle. And you know what the most terrifying part is? She delivered. She absolutely destroyed her competition. In her opening match against Russia's Elena Kareva, a player who had actually beaten Eala in previous encounters, Alex came out like a woman possessed. She didn't just win, she annihilated. 6-1, 6-2. It was clinical. It was ruthless. It was the performance of someone who knew that failure meant disappointing not just her fans, but the president, the government, and the entire apparatus of national pride that had been constructed around her. In her next match against Japan's Himino Sakitsum, Eala was even more dominant. 6-4, 6-0. The crowd at Rizal Memorial was in a frenzy. Flags waving, drums beating, thousands of voices chanting her name. But if you looked closely at Alex's face between points, if you really studied her body language, you could see something that the commentators weren't talking about. You could see exhaustion. Not physical exhaustion, but emotional exhaustion. The exhaustion of someone carrying the dreams of millions on their shoulders. After her second-round victory, Alex gave an interview that sent chills down my spine. She smiled for the cameras and said, "It's a full-circle moment. Playing at home, representing the flag, feeling the energy of my people, this is what I've always dreamed of." But here's what she didn't say. Here's what she couldn't say without causing a national scandal. She couldn't say, "I'm terrified of disappointing you. I'm scared that if I lose, I'll be letting down not just myself but an entire nation. I'm playing not because I want to, but because I have to." The relationship between athletes and national identity is a complicated, often toxic dynamic that we don't talk about enough in sports. When an athlete succeeds, they're celebrated as a national hero. Their individual achievement becomes collective property. But when they fail, they're not just dealing with personal disappointment, they're dealing with national shame, public criticism, and the psychological weight of knowing that millions of people are judging them not just as an athlete but as a representative of an entire country. And that brings us back to those three words. Para sa Bayan. For the country. Was Alex Eala making a heroic declaration of patriotic duty? Or was she revealing, perhaps unconsciously, the prison that she's been locked inside? Was she embracing the role of national savior, or was she admitting that she no longer plays for herself? Let me share something that most people don't know about Alex Eala's journey. When she was just a child, her parents made the extraordinarily difficult decision to send her to Spain to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy. She left her family, her friends, her entire childhood behind to pursue a dream that wasn't even fully formed yet. She spent her teenage years, the years when most kids are going to proms and hanging out with friends and figuring out who they are, grinding on tennis courts thousands of miles away from home. She missed birthdays. She missed Christmases. She missed funerals. She missed weddings. She missed every milestone that makes a childhood a childhood. And she did all of this willingly, motivated by a combination of personal ambition and the knowledge that she was representing something bigger than herself. But here's the question that nobody wants to ask. At what point does sacrifice become exploitation? At what point does national pride become national pressure? At what point does representing your country become being owned by your country? The exchange between President Marcos and Alex Eala, particularly her three-word response, exposes this uncomfortable reality. When the president publicly declares that the whole Philippines is behind you, he's not just offering support, he's reinforcing an obligation. He's reminding Alex, and reminding the nation, that her individual journey is now collective property. Her victories are our victories. Her defeats are our defeats. She doesn't get to be just Alex anymore. She has to be Alex Eala, pride of the Philippines, every single moment of every single day. Alex Eala's three-word response, whether she intended it this way or not, has become a mirror that reflects back to us who we are as a nation. Are we a people who support our athletes unconditionally, win or lose? Or are we a people who celebrate victories and condemn defeats? Are we invested in Alex Eala the human being, or are we invested in Alex Eala the symbol? The way we answer those questions will determine not just Alex's future, but the future of every young Filipino athlete who dares to dream of global glory. Let me bring this home with a final thought that I want you to really sit with. What if Alex Eala had responded differently to President Marcos? What if, instead of "Para sa bayan," she had written, "Thank you for the support, but I need to play for myself right now"? What if she had drawn a boundary and said, "I appreciate the nation's pride in me, but I can't carry that weight anymore"? Would we respect that? Would we understand? Or would we crucify her for it? I think we all know the answer, and that's the problem. Alex Eala is trapped in a golden cage, and "Para sa bayan" is the lock. The question now is whether that cage will be her making or her breaking. Will she rise to become the champion that the Philippines desperately wants her to be? Or will the pressure eventually consume her, leaving us to wonder what might have been if we had just let her be human? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, those three words have changed everything. The fight continues, just as President Marcos said. But the real fight isn't on the tennis court. The real fight is for Alex Eala's soul, her sanity, and her right to define success on her own terms. And that, my friends, is the story that nobody else is brave enough to tell you. Before we wrap up, I need to hear from you. Do you think Alex Eala's "Para sa bayan" response was empowering or concerning? Do you believe the pressure from national expectations helps athletes or hurts them? And most importantly, do you think Alex will win her first Grand Slam in 2026, or will the weight of the nation's expectations prove too much to bear? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. I'm reading every single one, and I'll be responding to the most insightful takes. This conversation is too important to ignore. If this deep dive opened your eyes to a side of sports you hadn't considered before, do me a favor and hit that like button. It tells YouTube that real journalism still matters. Subscribe to Court Vision Plus and turn on notifications because we're the only channel willing to tell you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. We've got more explosive stories coming your way, including an investigation into the politics behind Grand Slam wildcards and an expose on how social media is destroying young athletes' mental health. The fight continues. The truth continues. And Court Vision Plus will be here every step of the way. I'll see you in the next one. Stay woke, stay engaged, and never stop questioning the narratives they feed you.
Warmest greetings to the officers and personnel of the Philippine National Police as you celebrate Philippine National Police Day. This occasion is a reminder.
What did you prepare for, or what were your strategies in getting this straight set win and not losing that early lead?
I think every match is different.